Welcome to this session on Wikis. Wikis are one of the most versatile Web 2.0 tools out there, and we're going to be looking at them, thinking again also of universal design for learning components and principles, as well as the nets as we consider Wikis. So the first thing I'd like you to do is actually watch a video called Wikis in Plain English. This gives a great quick overview that helps to really explain what a wiki is and how it could be used. And then we'll talk more about them in using them in an educational setting. So go ahead and watch the video, Wikis in Plain English. So why use a wiki? Well, wikis, as you saw in that video, are really designed to be used collaboratively. And it can be difficult for teachers to be able to create those kinds of opportunities for students in a classroom. Wiki is really an ideal way to do that. Wikis are simple to create, they're easy to use. Teachers, students of any age really can use a wiki. I have seen classrooms of second graders that are very adept at using the wiki for their classroom. They're free, which is a wonderful aspect of them. They are or can be password protected, and you can choose the different levels of password protection that you want so that your wiki can be completely open to the public and anybody can view it and edit it. You can protect it to the point where the public can view it but not edit, and then you can shut it right down completely, so you have to have a username and password to even see the wiki. So nice levels of protection there. You can incorporate all kinds of resources and materials, so text, graphics, video, links. You can embed HTML code right into the wiki so that people don't even have to link to something else. They can be student or teacher driven. They are really so simple to create that students can easily create them and use them as a learning device. They're a wonderful way too to create learning communities. There are learning communities that are the people themselves are scattered all over the globe, and yet they come together on a wiki and find it a place where they can share their ideas. They have discussions together, they can share resources. So it's really a wonderful way to expand a learning community. So let's talk a little bit about the history of wikis, the background of where they came from. They were actually started in 1994 by a gentleman named Ward Cunningham. And Ward was an interesting fellow. He wanted to create something brand new. He was a software developer. He found that it was sometimes difficult to be working collaboratively in creating software with other people, because one person would have an idea and they'd be working on whatever the software development was. Well, if somebody else had an idea while the first person was working, you really couldn't access it. So in essence, what he created was a giant clipboard, a public clipboard that anybody could get to at any time. And the way he describes wikis, it's there like a never-ending party. There's always one more room that you can create, one more conversation you could have. So it's a vibrant developmental tool that can be expanded as much as you need it to. And the word wiki actually comes from the word that's used in the Hawaiian Islands at the airports and whatnot. They have these little shuttles which really look like golf carts, and they're called wikis. They get you where you need to go quickly and efficiently. So he named his new invention a wiki. Here's a long list, not exhaustive by any means, but of different ways that you can use a wiki. So class notes, great way to keep track of what did we do in class today. I've seen classrooms where at the end of the class period there's the wiki monitor who goes over to the classroom computer and records a quick summary of what we did today, what chapters we covered, what vocabulary we talked about. A simple way to do it, then it's always accessible to students. Somebody's absent, they can quickly go and find what they missed. To communicate with parents and with students, again, training your students to be able to go onto the wiki. Where are you going to find it's on the wiki? Go take a look. Letters to parents can just live there. things, as you probably know, get lost in the bottom of kids' backpacks or in their lockers or whatever. So here's a great way to keep everything in one place and always accessible. So as we mentioned, doing summaries of the lessons, keeping links and resources that are necessary, handouts for students. You can put video up, so all the resources that a student would need are easily accessible in one place. Put your calendar on there. Collaborate with notes. So you are having students take notes on whatever the topic happens to be. Well, you could have 2 or 3 students taking notes and all putting them together in one place, which is going to give you richer information and help students to see, everybody doesn't get the same thing from a presentation, so this way they can share that together. Let students explore. A wiki, again, because of its collaborative nature, really lends itself to exploration and students having the opportunity to work collaboratively with one another. Being able to extend your learning beyond the classroom is hugely important for our students. It gives them a real sense of authentic purpose in what they're doing. There's an amazing wiki project that it takes place. It's called the Flat Earth Project. And students work collaboratively on projects. Some of the students are in the United States, some of the students are overseas, but they're paired up in groups with these students who are thousands of miles away but working collaboratively. So the learning is taken way beyond the classroom. So when we talk about being part of a larger community, when we look at the nets, it's just an ideal way to be able to do that. Put your teacher information on there. A wiki can become a school newspaper if you want it to be. Again, as with so many of these tools, it's an ideal place to showcase student projects and allow students to be able to do peer reviews of each other's work. So post students' work up there, have other students analyze and evaluate each other's work. Great way to do it and to have the information recorded. So, ideas for how students themselves could use it. So, if a student created their own wiki, use it to create projects. Again, that collaboration piece is just critical, and it really is one of the outstanding features of a wiki. Collaboration can happen between, classes, across districts, across the country, across the world. So, creating a wiki is really quite simple, which you would expect based on the premise behind them in the first place. There are 3, and there are more, but these are 3 different companies that or groups that offer wiki creation. So we have Wiki Spaces, Wet Paint, and PB Wiki, which is now called PB Works. And PB Wiki was started, the name stands for Peanut Butter Wiki, the idea being that it was as easy to create a wiki as it was to create a peanut butter sandwich. So we're going to look at Wiki Spaces. They have a really nice educational component as well. Wet Paint does as well, and PB Works has moved that way too. So when you are creating a wiki, you certainly don't have to use any one of these particular companies, but whatever you're looking at, if you're going to use it for education, make sure that they have an education option. What that'll do is it'll allow you to create permissions at different levels. It also will make sure you can get an option where you don't have to have ads on the page. So let's take a look at Wiki Spaces. So Wiki Spaces' motto is wikis without the learning curve. Easy. That's their point. Let's make it easy for you to do. So they have some different options, wikis for organizations, and as you can see, those start at $1,000 a year. Those have a completely different organization and structure than what we're going to look at for education. So the one on the right, wikis for individuals and groups, this is what we want to look for. And specifically, if you go to Wiki Spaces for Educators, this is the opening page that you will come to. So as you can see, they've given away an awful lot of free wikis for K-12 education, and it's just more and more all the time. So if you look down the right-hand side of this page, you'll see what you can do with a wiki. Easy to post, setting privacy, creating student accounts, which is really nice. Students don't need to have an email address. Sometimes for younger kids, you don't want them to have an email address. So it's nice that you can just upload a class list or create the accounts for the students. You can put all kinds of media right in the wiki. Don't have to link somewhere else, which is nice. And you can make the wiki look the way you want it to do. So to create your free wiki, all you do, you put in your username. Again, think carefully about what you want it to be. You might be in room 10 this year, but who knows where you'll be next year. And you can change it, but once people get used to something, it's nice to be able to stay consistent. What will your password be? This is for you as the creator of the wiki. What's the email address? You need to have that so that they can communicate with you. Do you want to make a wiki? Click yes, and then what is your wiki name going to be? It's going to be whatever it is. It's going to have .wikispaces.com at the end, so don't make it incredibly long or your URL is really going to be a little cumbersome. So once you've gone ahead and started your wiki, what's it going to look like? Think about your organization. How do you want it to be organized? There is a navigation sidebar, but you need to think about the components that are going to be in there. So here's an example of one that was used by a class. They were doing a book study. So their navigation has summaries in it, characters, and then these different topics that had to do with the book that they were studying. So this was a very specific wiki for a specific purpose. If you're going to create a wiki that you're going to use more generally, you might want to think about having topics down in your navigation that have to do with content. So for example, if you teach language arts and math and social studies, perhaps those are the three navigation options that you want to have. You may want to go by class period. So if you're an algebra teacher, period 1, period 2, period 3, that might make the most sense for you. So really think about what would make sense. You can move things around after the fact, but it's just always easier to do it up front. Think too about your audience. What's going to be easiest for them and what's going to make sense for them as far as finding the information that they need and being able to navigate. That's what this is all about, is navigating through the site. So when you're in Wikispaces, this is on that navigation page, you have options to personalize your wiki to make it work for you. And this is found under the Manage Wiki option. So when you click on that, it takes you to this page. So one of the first things that most people like to do is create a look and feel that's unique for their particular wiki. So thinking about that again, you can customize the themes and the colors. So they have all the colors of the rainbow that you can choose. You can also choose a logo. So as you can see here, I put my school district logo on my particular wiki, but you can put whatever you want on there. You could do a picture of a person. It's not that large, so you don't want to make it too complicated, but you can customize it so it's unique for you. And again, if your students are creating one, they can customize it so that it makes sense for them. Personalize it. Then another option you have here is under subscriptions. And subscriptions are, because there's that dollar bill there, it has the idea that it's going to cost money. However, because we have the education option, that means that we're not paying anything in order to have that. If you don't go with the education option, there are different levels of subscription that will cost money. Then you can choose who will be a member of your wiki, and here's a list of members for a particular wiki that I own. You can see that most of them are members, however one of them is an organizer. That means this person has more rights and more access than just a member, and you can change that at any time by going to your navigation. Here's where you click on permissions to be able to change permissions for your wiki. So here are the 4 levels of wiki permissions. So the public means that everyone, even if you're anonymous, don't know who you are, can take a look and they can edit your pages. Makes it simple for people to get on. However, you do run the risk of anybody doing whatever they want to your pages. You can protect it, which means that anybody can take a look at the page, but you must be a member in order to edit them. You can make them private, and this is usually the option that I would suggest if you're using this in a public school setting, so that only members of the wiki could view and edit the pages. This gives you a lot more control, and it protects your students from who knows what out there. And because with Wikispaces and other companies, if you get their educator's account, you don't have to pay extra for this. So a protected page is going to have this edit button grayed out, which means that, as you can see, I'm a guest when I logged onto this page, and that means that I can't do anything to it. I can obviously see the page, but I'm not allowed to make any kinds of edits to it. So this page and this wiki is protected. A private wiki will give you this message. You're not a member of this wiki, so what are you doing here? You can ask to join. If I clicked on that, it would send a request to the organizer of the wiki, and they would either approve or reject my application for membership. One really nice thing about wikis, because they're collaborative, you do run the risk, things can go wrong, pages and materials can disappear on purpose or not. I've had it happen where I've created a wiki. I had about 150 people at a workshop, and I was teaching them how to use a wiki. And somebody went onto my front page and the whole thing disappeared. She wasn't quite sure what she was doing. But not to fear. All it means is that I need to go into the revision history, and I can see who has made changes and what they've done to it. So as you can see on this particular page, there's a number of different documents were uploaded. I was the one who did them. I did them one right after the other. And this toolbar shows me there's been 8 revisions to this particular page. And as you can see, Morgan and I were the ones that did most of the revisions on this page. Now, if it so happens that Morgan made his November 8th update wasn't what we wanted it to be, we can always go back and select one of the previous ones and then revert our page back to that appearance and to that material. So for the example that I gave you of the page that just got totally destroyed, all I did was go into the revision history and just set that page back to what it had been before those revisions had to be made. So that's a really nice component to be able to keep in mind when you're making a wiki. So here's some examples of educational wikis. This one, as you can see up on the top right hand side, the edit button is live. This particular wiki does not have any kinds of limitations on it, so anybody can view it, anybody can edit it, and it has happened a few times. I've had some interesting edits done to this page, but I just again went into revision and got rid of them. And really, considering that this site has been up for about 4 years now, I believe there's been 2 different times that something's happened to it, so really it hasn't been a big deal. You can also see at the top right hand corner it says 57. That means there's been 57 revisions done recently to this particular wiki. I'd like you to take a look at the navigation as well on the left hand side. We talked about purpose. The purpose for this site is to be able to share instructional technology information with other teachers. TILT stands for Technology Integrated in Learning and Teaching. So that's what this site was all about. So the navigation on the left-hand side was set up to help teachers be able to get quickly and easily to material and information that would be helpful to them. So we organize it by hardware, by software, digital citizenship, etc. When you click on any one of those, it will take you to another page that will give you a list of other options of where you want to go. You can always get back home from any page. This is a wiki that's created by a classroom, and students are actually the ones who put all the content on this page. I believe this is a 4th grade classroom. So this was the example I showed you before where the edit button is grayed out, meaning that I can look at it but I can't do anything to it. Notice that there's links all over this page, and that takes you to other helpful information. So down the left hand side again there's that navigation. This was a book study. or book reports. So that's how this particular wiki was organized. And notice too up on the left how they've changed their logo. This is a really interesting wiki. This is actually done through using wet paint. This is a study that a high school class was doing on Chaucer. And on the left-hand side again, there's their navigation. It looks a little different from the wiki spaces. What this class was doing was translating the works of Chaucer. So it would be, the students were responsible for doing, they would take the lines as they were in the original, and then they would translate it into modern day language. So kind of an interesting way to use a wiki. Then the teacher also has specific project directions there. Again, great place to have this all located. If the student lost their copy of the directions, weren't sure when things are due or what the expectations was, it's sitting right here on their wiki, and it's easy for them to get to. There's also navigation buttons across the top to help organize and to be able to find information. So wikis, again, very easy to set up. What I'd like you to do is go to the site and take a look at some educational wikis. There's a long list of them. Some of them are even in other languages. So take a look at some of those educational wikis. Evaluate at least 3 of them that you think you could use in your teaching. What is it that you like about them? What is it that's appealing to you about them? What are the drawbacks you see with them? And so give your rationale. Reference UDL principles as well as NETS principles, and think carefully about how you would create a wiki or what you would look for in a wiki, because your next step, of course, is to actually create your own wiki. Use wet paint, wiki spaces, or PBWorks. Unless you find another one you'd rather use, that's fine with me as well. But create a wiki. Again, think carefully about your purpose. What is it you want this wiki to accomplish? Is it primarily for student use, for teacher use? Is this something you're going to use to share with other adults? Do you want information for parents? Just think carefully about what purpose you want your wiki to accomplish.